Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. My name is Garen, and we're on to the second part of the addendum on the Course in Awakening today. And we're just going to recap. We ended with the first three agreements late last week. So we're just going to recap again that it all starts with the concept that you are not that voice in your head, that you are indeed the listener, the observer, that which hears that voice, that which sits in silent observation, the experiencer itself, okay? You are indeed a powerful spiritual being having a human experience. That which you think you are, your name, your job, your roles, your beliefs, they're all products of your thoughts. The things that you've been told you are products of someone else's thoughts. They are not you. The only true way to actually experience yourself and have that knowing is to come to a place of stillness within. And that's part of what this course is designed to do for you. So we're going to carry on into the agreements. And again, a reminder that this course does not deal with the symptoms. I'm not interested in the symptoms. We are a society of symptom fighters. Somebody feels sad, we hand them pills for their depression, never looking at what's causing the depression. When someone gets sick, we try and deal with the symptoms of the sickness. We never actually get down to the core of how the sickness originates to start with. This is what we do in our societies, and this is what we do in our own lives. And the best thing you can do is become consciously aware of it and choose to stop and take a different road. Don't fall into that same pothole over and over again. Agreement number 4, I am not the voice in my head. And that's exactly what we were just talking about, okay? You are not the voice you hear talking in your head. You are that which hears that voice. You are that observer that's listening, that hears it. You do not have to buy into nor believe the voice in your head. That ego is dysfunctional for the most part. It has two sides. There is a healthy side to it, and it is the dysfunctional unconscious side, the sick side, that we must heal and make better and bring back under the literally under the thumb of the observer, the higher self, back into the position ego belongs in. This does not take away from your personality. This does not change who you are, because when you're living out of ego, you're not you. You're only what you think you are. And those are two very different things. Agreement number 5. I owe it to myself to always express my own truth clearly and compassionately, with respect for the personal state of others. I will never hide what I choose for myself from others. Now, what we're talking about here, of course, is honesty and transparency. And to me, the two go hand in hand. You have to be honest with oneself, completely and totally honest with where you're at right now today. There is no blame nor shame in the position you find yourself in right now. It is your thoughts and your feelings about your thoughts that are creating your perceptions about where you are right now. You do not have to believe what the ego says to you. You can look at it and judge it for yourself in conscious awareness, and you will find out that anytime the ego speaks negatively, it's lying to you. It's telling you a falsehood. And I've proven this time and time again, and we can certainly talk more about it if necessary. No other opinion, this is number 6, no opinion from another, nor any word or action from another can sway me unless I choose to allow it to do so. You know, we live in a society that teaches people to blame things externally for their own state of being. Well, the reason I messed up is because I was abused from my father. I mean, I could use that line if I wanted to, but would it be the truth? You know, my father sexually abused my sister and I when we were still little tiny children. That is something that I experienced. It is something that was a happening. It wasn't personal. It would have happened to whatever children who were there. Okay. And it doesn't form part of what I am. It's part of the experience that the ego has had here. For me to choose to hold on to that as somehow part of my identity, or to allow that to sway what I feel about myself, is actually a form of insanity that the ego engages in. When something happens to us, which is actually a misperception, okay, we think that that experience takes away or somehow adds to our being, and it does not. It's simply another memory record. And depending on how we feel about that memory record, we will allow that memory record to affect our lives from that point forward. These are the sort of things that this program will allow you to work beyond. Number 7, I understand that everything I perceive is an attack from, as an attack from another is a cry for help. They too are feeling like they are suffering. And indeed, this is the case. Whenever we perceive an external attack from someone else onto us, we really have to look a little deeper and understand that the person is actually crying out for help in the only way that they are capable of. Now, this has nothing to do with staying in harm's way, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, or spiritual. It does not mean putting up with abuse, but it does mean understanding, again, that it is not personal. It is someone's only way at their state of consciousness that they can make that cry for help. And that can change the way you choose to respond, or at least realize that it's not you, it's them. You just happen to be there, and it's not personal. If there would have been someone else standing there, they would have received the brunt of that attack. Number 8, honesty with myself begins with acceptance of how I currently think and feel, and understanding why I think and react the way I do. I will never lie to myself. You know, and again, I'm going to use Kelly because she's such a great example. One of these. Oh man, in the next life, I swear she's going to bring me back as her slave or something to make me pay. And it's very true. It's not just Kelly. It's me occasionally, and it's most people. But we don't even have the level of honesty with ourselves to accept exactly where we are. We rail against where we currently are at. We sit there and say, well, I shouldn't be feeling these feelings. I shouldn't be thinking these thoughts. There are no shoulds and should nots. Everything is choice. Everything is action and a reaction returning out of the cosmos. Some of those are obvious. Some of them are not so obvious. The Buddhists used to have a saying, in Tibet, that better to sit and contemplate the right course of action for 1,000 years than to take a wrong step. Now, you would think on the surface when you look at that would freeze people into place, and that's not what it means. What it means is understand that there is no judgment. The judgment, if you have to have that term, if we have to use it, okay, is simply the reaction that's going to come back. You go out into the world in a bad mood this morning on your way to work, shaking your fists at people as they drive by, and chances are you're going to have some bad encounters during the day. And the question to ask yourself is, were those bad encounters drawn to me, or did I manifest them? Because it always belongs to us, always. When you're honest with yourself, this is not a blame game. It is not about getting frustrated with yourself. It is about simply being honest with the thoughts that are in your head and then examining those thoughts, taking the time to critically look at what you're thinking, understanding that your thinking is askew, and to constantly and consistently, through awareness, readjust your thinking over and over again. We need to cut those new trails through the jungle, hack those new paths, and allow those old negative paths to grow back over, because that's all they are. They're just a neurally entrenched, easy to follow, low resistance path that the brain will keep coming back to again and again out of habit. That habit must be broken, and it can only be broken through conscious awareness. Number 9, to serve others, I must care for myself first and foremost. We could have easily have said, in order to love another, you must first love yourself, all of yourself. And caring for yourself really is born out of that same love for yourself too. Most of us, and this has always been the funny thing about the Christian belief system, okay? You're going to go to hell if you commit suicide. And I notice that they judge suicide as anything that happens relatively quickly, i.e., you take a gun and stick it in your mouth and blow your own head off. That's suicide. How about working a job that's killing you through stress and you know it and you've been told it by your doctor? How about drinking half a dozen beer every night because it's the only way you can survive the ridiculous place that you find yourself in your work environment and in your life? How about the constant unhealthy dead food? I mean, most egos, okay, most egoic selves, most false concept of eyes running around on this planet, and that covers the vast majority of the population still, have a death wish. Killing yourself slowly through one method or another. You have to start loving yourself. You have to love every bit of it. You have to love the dark that you perceive within you, because it's not dark. It is that destructive, active energy, one half of the whole being. And you must learn to work with it. And it's so easy to work with. Take a look at the video on dreams and nightmares and archetypes. It is it's a 45-minute video, give or take, and it offers a very easy 4-step process with validation to interpret your dreams using Jungian archetypes. Okay, spanning off the work of Carl Jung. Number 10, I love myself. I have no reason to feel guilt nor fear. This is probably the most important of the 10. Loving yourself. What does it mean to love for yourself? It means what number 9 says, to care for yourself. And then to serve others in that strength. To love yourself means to pursue your passions, to pursue what literally enlightens you, what sets your soul on fire when you're doing it. These are the ways we love ourselves, and we should never feel guilt nor fear. Fear belongs to a future that has not manifested. And if you need more talk about fear, I've produced a few videos on fear now. They're worth taking a look at. Fear, the mind killer, being the latest of them. And guilt, of course, belongs to a past that's already dead and gone. And as I've said before, looking at the state of consciousness we had in the past and blaming ourselves for what we did at that state of consciousness with the vision we had at the time is like beating a 3-month-old baby for spilling milk. It's wrong, and it makes no sense. You have to apply that to yourself in your life. It really does not do anything to get upset with yourself about things that have happened while you were in a lower state of consciousness. That does not mean taking responsibility for them, but it does mean dropping blame, completely dropping blame. A few of the tips before we wrap up this second part of the addendum to the Awaken course. I suggest you pick up a double wide pack of sticky notes or a pack of sticky notes and those little 3M sticky pads and write them down and spread them all over the house so you can see them where you go about the day. Excuse me. This is about literally retraining the brain, reminding yourself. Okay, it's part of this process. And the more you can bring yourself to it over and over again, the easier it's going to become and the faster it's going to come. Be diligent. The mind will try, your ego will try to minimize the need to reread these many times a day. And the reason it's doing that is it immediately knows that some change is coming, that there's an attempt going on. And it will resist that in every way possible, including minimizing the need for you to actually go over this over and over and over again. Remember that it is always our choices in each moment that shape our existence. Your entire existence is a series of never-ending moments, a series of never-ending nows. Remember that. What are you doing in the moment? Where are you in the moment? Where do you catch yourself, in the past or in the future or here? Don't get upset, but learn to watch and see where you are and keep bringing yourself back to the breath, back to the present moment. This is where you truly exist. Most important, start each day and end each day with these agreements without fail. As I said in the beginning of the addendums, make this a critical part of your life for 30 days. And if not, I'll give you a full refund on the free course. Seriously though, 30 days and it will change your life. Dedicate yourself to it. We will go tomorrow to the exercises and a little more about meditation and some various meditation techniques to use and some ways to get by some of the meditative blocks that we run into. And we'll catch that up tomorrow or later on this week. That's it for today. Much love and namaste to you all. And if you're unsure where the course material is, it is pinned in the file section, as well as pinned to the top of the discussion page as well on the Facebook Awaken the World group. Much love and namaste.